Good morning, my name is Michelle Coughlin. I'm the Community Planning Manager for Aberdeen City Council. I'm joined by Alison Swanson, our Improvement Programme Manager, and Lydia Ross, our Performance and Strategic Development Officer. This is a short 1-hour session for you today. It's intended to give you an introduction to the city's Community Planning Partnership, who we are and how we work together to make improvements for the whole city. I'm going to take you through a few slides on that, and then I'm going to hand over to Alison, who will talk to you about our improvement programme and how you or your organisation or community group can get involved. Community Planning Aberdeen. It's one of 32 community planning partnerships in Scotland. Every local authority area has one, and this was formalised by the 2015 Community Empowerment Scotland Act. The Act requires statutory community planning partners to work together to improve outcomes for communities. The members of Community Planning Aberdeen are a mixture of statutory and non-statutory partner organisations. We have 14 members in total who sit on our board and our management group, and 9 of those are identified as statutory in the legislation. Those are Aberdeen City Council, the Aberdeen Health and Social Care Partnership, NHS Grampian, North East Scotland, Police Scotland, Skills Development Scotland, Scottish Enterprise, Nestrans and the Scottish Fire and Rescue Service. Those are all listed in the legislation as statutory partners that must work together to improve outcomes. But we have some locally elected partners on our board. So we've got ACFO, who are our third sector interface in the city. We've got Aberdeen City Forum, which is an overarching group of communities of interest and community groups within the city. We've got our Active Aberdeen Partnership, which is a local partnership of sport organisations in the city. And we're also lucky to have 2 universities in Aberdeen, the University of Aberdeen and Robert Gordon University, that are also members of our Community Planning Board. Now, these are just the organisations which sit on our board and our management group, which are our top decision-making groups of our structure. But we work with many organisations and community groups through our various improvement projects and community group work. So the thing that binds us together, our common goal, is our 10-year shared vision for Aberdeen as a place where all people can prosper. Now, this vision is set out in our local outcome improvement plan, which breaks down into SMART aims, which we are committed to working together to achieve. The local outcome improvement plan is very important in setting the priorities for partnership working and ensuring that we are all working in tandem to achieve improvement in these priority areas. The LOIP, as it is known, was first developed in 2016, and so we now are halfway through our 10-year plan, and although it has been refreshed twice since we first developed it in 2016. A central theme across the LOIP is addressing the inequalities that exist across the city in terms of the economy, education, health and well-being of our people, which will ultimately improve outcomes for the whole city. Now, you'll appreciate that making Aberdeen a place where all people can prosper means tackling what has been long-standing, stubborn and interconnected issues. So there's a lot in the LOIP. So to give it structure, it identifies the 3 strategic themes. So that's economy, people and place. And under those 3 overarching themes, we have 15 stretch outcomes. Those are our 15 high-level top priorities for improvement for the partnership. Through our stretch outcomes, we are very clear about what we're trying to improve, by how much and by when. And the 15 stretch outcomes give you an idea of the diverse issues we're seeking to address and improve as a partnership. So that high level summary just shows you the 15 stretch outcomes there. You'll see that the first one is that no one will suffer due to poverty. And that is a response to the pandemic, where we've seen an increase in the number of people and families that have been thrust into poverty due to the difficulties and challenges of COVID-19. So that's an immediate response to that situation. Our other two stretch outcomes under the economy theme are longer term. Those are about preventing poverty in the first place and preventing people to get into that crisis situation. So our stretch outcomes under economy are about supporting people into employment, well-paid employment, and upskilling and reskilling people to take advantage of the economic opportunities that do exist within our city. Under people, we have 6 stretch outcomes. Those can be split further into outcomes for children and young people and outcomes for adults. And there is a focus through our stretch outcomes and our improvement work on those most vulnerable groups in society that need support to be able to thrive and take advantage of the same opportunities as other people in the city. And then under place, we also have 3 stretch outcomes, which are about addressing climate change, in particular, reducing our carbon emissions, increasing active travel, those people walking and cycling, and also, again, as a response to the pandemic, a greater focus on managing our natural environment of the city, which was so important during the pandemic when we were locked down and people really did rely on our beautiful environment to be able to improve their health and well-being. Under our 15 stretch outcomes, those are really quite high level, and there's a lot of work that it takes to achieve some of these ambitious areas for improvement. We have 75 improvement project aims that underpin those stretch outcomes, and these are the projects that we will believe will make a difference. And it's the cumulative effect of those 75 improvement projects that we will believe will enable us to achieve our stretch outcomes and ultimately the achievement of our 10-year vision. But Alison will talk a lot more about our improvement programme later in this presentation. Data underpins all our decisions about priorities across the partnership. It tells us where the greatest areas of need are across the city, and it helps direct resources across the partnership to tackle the most important issues. We monitor data through our outcomes framework, which is published on our website, and it's open to all members of the public. So from this platform, it's possible to view data by theme, stretch outcome, locality, and by project. And we also have options to view data by organisation and to compare our data to other areas of Scotland. So what we've got on the screen is just an example of some of the data we collect to understand how well we're doing against stretch outcome 11. So this is our stretch outcome about increasing healthy life expectancy by 5 years. So obviously we monitor our healthy life expectancy data, but also a range of related data which tells us about people's mental health and well-being, and also their physical health and well-being, and a whole range of data that relates to whether people do live a healthy life expectancy. And what this means is that we can act on any areas which are flagging up as in need of greater attention, and we can incorporate that into our improvement work. So we keep that outcomes framework as up to date as we can with data as it becomes available. And from the outcomes framework, it is possible to delve into the data further to understand trends over time. And I've got an example here again of our healthy life expectancy. Depending on the data, there can be a lag in how up to date it is, and that's due to it going through various processes for ensuring it's accurate and publicly available. So that's data underpinning all of our decisions. So how do we do it? Obviously, it's more than just a plan. Change requires people. So we do have a structure in place to enable us to deliver on those 15 stretch outcomes. So right at the top of our Community Planning Aberdeen structure, we have our board, and I went through the various organisations involved with that earlier on in the presentation. And right underneath our board, we've got our management group, which is our lead executive level representatives of our partner organisations that are charged with making sure that we deliver. Underneath our management group, right at the top of the structure, we have our themed groups, and these are really taking forward those stretch outcomes, all responsible for the delivery of those stretch outcomes by 2026. So you'll see on the outside, we've got our anti-poverty outcome improvement group. We've got Aberdeen Prospers, responsible for the other two stretch outcomes under economy that we talked about. Due to the level of improvement we're seeking to achieve under our people stretch outcomes, we do have actually 4 groups taking those stretch outcomes forward. So we've got our Children's Services Board, we've got our Community Justice Outcome Improvement Group, we've got Resilient Included and Supported Outcome Improvement Group, and they're charged with taking forward that example of stretch outcome 11 that I just went through. Again, there's a lot of improvement activity associated with that. We've got our alcohol and drugs partnership focused specifically on our alcohol and drug stretch outcome. Again, a priority emerging from the pandemic, where we've seen an increase in drug-related deaths and harmful use of alcohol. And finally, we've got our Sustainable City Stretch Outcome Improvement Group, looking at our environmental outcomes. So partners around all of those virtual tables. In the centre of our structure, we have our community-led groups. So these are forums that enable community members to come together and think about what they can do to work in partnership and on their own to take forward these improvements. That's just a close-up of there. We've got 3 locality empowerment groups in the north, south and central localities of the city. And within those localities, we have what we call priority neighbourhoods. So that's within the areas of Aberdeen where we know that we have neighbourhoods that experience greater inequalities due to their socio-economic status. So we have specific partnership groups in those areas that, again, support communities to get involved with Community Planning Aberdeen. Under what I've talked through today is our local outcome improvement plan, which is our citywide plan, but this is really just to show you that we break that down into 3, or drill down rather, into a locality plan for north, south and central. And those plans just recognise those priority neighbourhoods within them and the specific priorities for that particular area of the city and the community input into some of the projects we're taking forward specifically for those areas. So although we're operating at a citywide, we do understand that one size doesn't fit all, and we do need to test different approaches with different communities across the city. So that's all from me this morning. I'm now going to hand over to Alison, who will talk a bit more about our improvement programme.
Thanks, Michelle. As you've heard from Michelle, we have 75 improvement projects within the Local Outcome Improvement Plan, and these are wide-ranging in nature. We're going to have a look at these in a little bit more detail and also cover how we're aiming to achieve these aims and how we are monitoring progress of them. So let's start by looking at the economy theme. There are 3 outcomes in this section and 15 improvement projects which are being taken forward to get to these aims. Following the impact of the pandemic, the economy section now has a focus on the actions we will take to support those most impacted by COVID-19 to recover, and also to mitigate the causes of immediate and acute poverty in the city. The projects cover various ways we will support people to ensure all people across the city have access to food, fuel, shelter and finance, and are not suffering due to poverty. Other areas of improvement in this section look to support the labour market to recover and help support people and create opportunities to get people back into employment. We know that certain groups have been more affected due to COVID, such as young people, and therefore we have projects to offer modern and graduate apprenticeships, and also to support them to complete their apprenticeship. We're also focused on working to support our most disadvantaged communities, where we know we already have inequality of opportunities to get into employment, so we're doing more to support those vulnerable groups. We recognise that the skills required by business is very important, and the LOIP projects are working to support creation of opportunities for upskilling and reskilling so that residents are able to move into, within and between opportunities. For example, we know that digital skills are a key requirement for the future workforce, and you can see the projects in the LOIP aiming to support people to upskill in that area. Many key aspects of the local economy, from tourism through to oil and gas, have been badly impacted by COVID, and we saw a rise in unemployment claimants in 2020. A primary focus, therefore, will be on creating new, sustained, fair work opportunities for unemployed residents, in particular those groups most affected by COVID. Once people get into work, we want to ensure that they are receiving the living wage. A lot of work is ongoing with employers to support and encourage them to become real living wage employers. So let's now look at the children and young people section. This section of the LOIP is all about making sure that every child and young person in Aberdeen has equal opportunities to grow, develop and reach their full potential throughout their life. In total, there are 6 outcomes within the section and 27 improvement projects. The projects are wide-ranging, starting with ensuring children are meeting their developmental milestones and that families are getting the support to ensure their children can thrive. We also have a focus on supporting vulnerable children, where we are seeing that perhaps they don't have the same environment where they can thrive and meet their development milestones as their peers. A theme throughout this section is also about ensuring young people and families get their support at the right time. From the pandemic, we've seen the impact on children and young people's mental health, and a priority is to increase the support in this area. The pandemic also saw an increase in the number of young people being referred to CAM's eating disorders specialist team, and we have a specific project focused on this area. But we're also wanting to increase access to mental health and wellbeing supports, either in person through our Fit Like hubs or digitally, so that we're providing different means for children and young people to access the support in the way which suits them. Other projects focus on providing appropriate and effective interventions for young people in the community to reduce their involvement in offending behaviour and supporting them to more positive destinations. All of our improvement projects in this area will support us to achieve UNICEF child-friendly city status and also support opportunities for youth participation across the city. So we'll now look at our adult section. This section has 3 outcomes which focus on making sure that opportunities are in place for all adults in the city to have positive, safe and successful lifestyles. There are 25 improvement projects to help us achieve these outcomes. So in this section, we have projects focusing on providing interventions and support for those which are contributing to offending behaviour and reducing the impact of crime on our communities. Here we have a project focused on supporting people to engage with services on release from prison and also to support them accessing employment opportunities on release. Through data, we can see areas of offending behaviour where a focus and improvement is required, and our projects are working with people involved in offending behaviour to deliver targeted interventions aimed at reducing these offences, such as domestic abuse. But we are also focused on increasing the reporting offences of such crimes as, for example, hate crimes. We are also increasing access to support for victims of crimes such as domestic abuse. This section is also committed to encouraging healthy life expectancy and supporting people to make informed decisions about health and lifestyle. A lot of issues experienced can be caused by loneliness and social isolation, and to support this area across the adult section, there is a focus on helping people to become more connected and aware of activity open to them across their communities. These projects will focus on improving outcomes for people experiencing vulnerability or disadvantage by reducing, for example, youth homelessness and suicides. We're also taking targeted approaches to known issues such as reducing unsafe levels of alcohol consumption and lowering the number of drug-related deaths. And in these projects, we're looking at interventions and access to services with a particular focus on our priority neighbourhoods. So now let's look at the place section. This section of the LOIP is about how we can do even more to promote and improve the positive qualities of Aberdeen as a place to live, work and visit. Our environment and the quality of place is vital to the quality of life enjoyed in Aberdeen and encouraging the health and well-being of our citizens. The three outcomes in this section cover reducing carbon emissions in the city, which includes projects to reduce waste and increase reuse, as well as work with communities to build on the levels of community volunteering and collective ownership seen throughout the pandemic. This will enable us to further build community resilience through the development of community-led resilience plans. We are also looking at increasing active travel across the population of Aberdeen by increasing walking and cycling. Finally, this section is also focused on addressing the nature crisis by protecting and managing green space, and this will be done through our projects on increasing community-run green spaces and food growing. So now that you've seen that our projects are wide-ranging and cover a number of areas, it is important that we have a system in place to keep track of both initiation and progress of our projects. One part of this is our CPA Improvement Programme for 2021 to 2023. This was approved by the CPA Board on the 15th of September this year, and it sets out the timescales for both initiation of the new aims within the refreshed LOIP, as well as the timescales for the continuing project charters being reviewed. The programme ensures a phased and coordinated approach to the initiation of new projects and the testing of changes with and by our communities, as well as ensuring that our continuing projects are also making the connections with the community ideas for improvement. The programme will help ensure that our resources are channelled to the projects of greatest importance and help ensure that the partnership is moving at pace. It also signals the intention that the projects will be prioritised to secure the achievement, not just the initiation, of all 75 aims over the course of the next 2 years. As you can see from the slide, we have a project manager for each project within the LOIP, and they are detailed within the programme. The project managers come from across all of our CPP partners, and we always welcome for partners to get involved either as a project manager or as a member of the project team. You can also see from the programme that we have a date for both the new and continuing projects being approved, as well as details of the community ideas for improvement from the locality plans, which are aligned to each specific project. Through our locality plans, our communities have said what is important to them and what their priorities for improvement are. There is a link between the aspirations of our communities to the improvement aims within the LOIP. 49 of the 75 LOIP improvement projects have community ideas for improvement aligned to them, and this alignment is shown in both of our improvement programme but also in the locality plans. So we've spoken some about the makeup of the LOIP and the connection with the locality plans, and it's essential that we have a system in place to ensure that professionals and communities are listening to each other, taking on board each other's ideas, and essentially working together to test and implement change. By ensuring that there are opportunities for our communities to get involved, this will make sure that the local voice is not lost and will improve the likelihood that changes being tested will result in real improvement for people living in our communities. It will also ensure that the development of our projects and the ideas within them are linked back to the community. To support this, we are looking for community connectors. So what is a community connector? A community connector can be someone in the community who is well connected in that locality. They understand the local needs and opportunities. They could be associated with a public body such as a school, or they could be a member of a community organisation, for example, a volunteer in a community pantry, or they could be a member of a community council. It could also be an individual who lives in the area who has a particular interest in a project and they want to get involved in that project and share their skills and experience. The role is flexible and a community connector could share knowledge and experience. They could help the project team take forward and raise awareness of the tests in their locality. They could take on a task or take forward a change idea in their own right, and we have training available to support them with this. However, as the connection between the project and the community, a community connector will provide updates to their locality empowerment group or priority neighbourhood partnership meeting on progress with the projects that they're connected in. So now that we have an improvement programme and a system for connecting with our locality plans, we need to ensure that we have support to achieve and deliver the LOIP aims by 2023. And to ensure this, we have a robust outcome management and reporting structure, which ensures effective scrutiny and challenge. And this also covers the various audiences, depending on their roles and responsibilities. So these arrangements include quarterly reporting to the CPA Management Group and Board on progress, as well as an annual outcome improvement report, which provides an annual opportunity to review overall progress against the improvement projects in the LOIP. You can see from the slide a snapshot of our quarterly reporting to the Management Group and Board. This provides a high-level overview of progress across all 15 stretch outcomes, as well as a spotlight on each stretch outcome and the underpinning improvement projects. It provides an opportunity for the respective outcome improvement groups to highlight progress, key outcomes achieved, as well as any risks or issues being experienced. The Outcome Improvement Group's Management Group and Board are only one of our audiences. It is also important that we're connecting with the locality empowerment groups and priority neighbourhood partnerships in respect of progress of their community ideas within the locality plans, but also the wider public. Our online improvement project dashboard is the platform for that. The dashboard is publicly available on the Community Planning website. From the dashboard, the locality empowerment groups and priority neighbourhood partnerships can scrutinise and understand whether our improvement projects are delivering on the improvement aims set out within the LOIP, as well as the progress with their community ideas. The dashboard is split up into the 15 stretch outcomes, and each section provides a chart for the overall stretch outcome and then provides a chart for each live improvement project. From the dashboard, you can access the project charter for each live project, as well as the current project updates, so that you can get more detail on the changes being tested. So how are our projects being delivered? Community Planning Aberdeen has adopted the model for improvement to drive improvement activity across the partnership. It is a structured way to improve and can be used across any business area. It is designed to break down change into manageable chunks and is a simple, powerful tool for accelerating improvement, with each small part then being tested to make sure that the things we are aiming to improve are actually improving. The model was designed by the Institute of Health Improvement, and it is widely used by the Scottish Government and NHS to deliver improvements. The methodology is shown on the slide and broken into two parts. The first being the thinking part and the second being the doing part. None of it is rocket science, it's all common sense, but it does provide a robust way of taking forward improvement and allows you to break down what can seem as really complex improvement work into manageable chunks. The first part is the thinking part, and it asks you the 3 questions which you need to complete at the beginning of any improvement project. The second part is the doing part. So once you've come up with the ideas of what you think you can try doing differently to achieve your aim you're looking for, then this is a mechanism for testing those ideas in the real world using the plan, do, study, act cycle. In order to support the framework and build capacity at all levels across the partnership to use the model, we have quality improvement resources available on the Community Planning website, and we also run virtual Model for Improvement boot camps. Sessions can be booked through our Eventbrite page, and all staff across the partnership are encouraged to attend those sessions. For more information on the Local Outcome Improvement Plan, Locality Plans, and also our quality improvement resources, please visit the Community Planning Aberdeen website. And thank you for joining us today.